is good, everybody? My Paper Moon fam. It's your boy, PaperSin, back with another reaction video. This one is called The Hollywood Propaganda Machine by the YouTube channel Moon. We've been here before and now we're back again. I like the videos. I really like his channel, what he discusses and talks about. You should definitely check him out. As always, links will be in the description below. So let's get it in. You know what I'm saying? How Hollywood became a propaganda machine. Let's go.
The Hollywood we know today is truly awful. It's a monolithic machine that swallows up creativity and talent, driven by—
Wait, hold on.
Especially when it comes to earbuds. The Hollywood we know today is truly awful. It's a monolithic machine that swallows up creativity and talent, driven by the greed of a few at the expense of the many. Is simply making money or entertaining the masses aren't the only things that the movie studios are designed to accomplish. Hollywood's hidden purpose is to act as the greatest, most effective propaganda.
I can't believe that they did that with She-Hulk.
Propaganda and government messaging are built into the very fabric of Hollywood, and it's been there from the beginning. But a little over 100 years ago, Hollywood was just an unremarkable patch of land on the outskirts of LA. But just a decade later, and it would become the seat of power for a film empire. The 8 studios that came out of Hollywood were responsible for 95% of movies shown in theaters during 1930 and 1948. This was the definition of a true monopoly, but every empire begins with a conqueror, and Hollywood was no different. And the people who defined Hollywood all of these years ago are responsible for the propaganda movies we see today, spread throughout all cinemas, including even movies like Barbie. But to understand why, we need to understand the man behind—
Bro, have y'all been, I don't know if anyone's been hearing, seeing or whatever, but there's been like a bunch of TikTok videos going around about if your boyfriend doesn't understand the Barbie movie, then break up with him. Now, if that's not propaganda, or if that's not, you know what I'm saying, propaganda or something, then I don't really know, bruh. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's so many things that wrong with that, with those type of videos, in my opinion, but we're not gonna get into that right now.
Including even movies like Barbie. But to understand why, we need to understand the man behind it all, Louis B. Mayer. Now, Louis Mayer was a man who came from nothing. Born in Russia in the late 1800s, Louis came to the US as the son of a penniless immigrant. It was a hard and cruel life. Louis was forced to drop out of school at age 12, all in order to help his father sell scrap metal by the roadside. His days consisted of long hours spent walking the streets, scavenging any junk worth selling. But on the rare occasion that Louis did have time to spare, he would spend it all at the local theatre. And it was there, watching live shows from the stands, that he fell in love with performing arts. It became his only goal in life to break into the entertainment business.
I wonder what movie he's using for background footage, or whatever it is.
But it wasn't going to be easy. Louis spent years working tirelessly for his father's business, saving what little money he could and teaching himself to read, write and speak English, as well as everything else that he needed to run a business.
Hey, yo, man. All right, I know I keep pausing it early, but like that's impressive, because a lot of people these days don't even bother trying to learn another language or teaching themselves how to do anything. You know what I'm saying? But he learned to read, write, and speak English. Like, taught himself? All right.
By 1907, and had gathered just enough savings to buy an abandoned burlesque house in Haverhill, Massachusetts.
He had ambition.
Over the course of a few years, he renovated the rundown building and turned it into a cinema. Even at his young age, Louis' business genius was becoming apparent. I mean, to clean up the reputation of this building, for example, he only showed religious and family films at first. Instead of targeting the richer citizens of Haverhill, he tapped into the uncontested poorer neighborhoods, making films accessible to everyone. And because of this, his business exploded. Within just a few years, Louis owned all 5 of the cinemas in the city. And a few years later, he was at the head of the largest chain of cinemas and theaters in New England. Even before Hollywood though, Louis B. Mayer wasn't concerned about getting involved with propaganda and pushing a message for profit. In 1914, he bought the exclusive rights to show the movie The Birth of a Nation for $25,000, around $750,000 in today's money. Infamous today, the wildly racist movie was what made his career. His backing of what amounted to a Ku Klux Klan recruitment movie turned out to be ludicrously profitable, and Louis was able to quadruple his investment. And this summed up Louis. Morals aside, he would do everything in his grasp to grow and expand his empire. He He would then use all the money he made from The Birth of a Nation to found a talent agency in New York, and then an entire production company which he built in a small town called Hollywood.
So money, it seems like money, here comes the corruption, the beginning of the corruption. It seems like at first he wasn't worried about it. Then he started that he quadrupled the money he spent on that movie. He quadrupled his income, and yeah. But shout out to him for working hard in the beginning and doing all that stuff to get those 5 cinemas and becoming the lead at the the lead and everything. But damn, bruh. Once he saw what propaganda could do.
In a very short space of time, ruthless businessmen like Louis B. Mayer bought out and consolidated every part of the movie business. He later founded MGM, which grew to be the largest of the studios. The others were Paramount, Fox, Warner, and RKO. Throughout the 20s, they built their own sets in Hollywood, and they broadcast the films they made through their own distribution networks and cinemas. And soon, Louis B. Mayer was about to strike gold. As the end of the 20s neared, and 1929 began, the Great Depression would take over America and spread across the world, destroying entire industries overnight, leaving millions of people unemployed. And yet one of the only industries to succeed in this time was the movie business. You see, as people were desperate for a distraction, Hollywood was able to provide a never-ending supply. However, the movies that were shown weren't only distractions. The studios themselves made Hollywood into a brand. A promise that you could escape your life and become a star. Thousands of young women made the journey, but a minuscule amount ever had a chance. Contracts and jobs were handed out at sleazy parties in return for predatory favors, and the women who did sign had to always give away everything. The studios then got to dictate every aspect of their personal life. They even changed their names. Louis B. Mayer himself was especially controlling. Hold on.
Marilyn Monroe was born Norma Jean Mortensen. And during her modeling career in the 1940s, she occasionally went by Jean Norman. Excuse me. After signing her first contracts with Fox, she and Fox executive Ben Lyons started looking for a stage name for her. Lyons suggested Marilyn as her first name, and as she reminded him of a Broadway star, Marilyn Miller, who also had a complicated and untimely tragic life. While she suggested Monroe as her new last name, that was her mother's maiden name. Marilyn's grandparents were Della Mae Monroe and Otis Elmer Monroe. Now, I guess, changing names isn't that different, because like in the music business, which this is not the music business, but in the music business, people have stage names, So I guess, but that's crazy, like, because right now you don't really have actors who have quote unquote stage names. They just go by their normal name, right?
Changed their names. Louis B. Mayer himself was especially controlling.
It was just for the women?
His studio and everyone in it with an iron fist. Judy Garland was just one of his victims, who he abused and controlled with a reduced diet and bottles of pills. Because people go to movies not based on the movie, but for the actors in it. And so these big Hollywood studios understood very well the true power that the talent had. So they waged a war of control on them for decades. And it was in this period when Hollywood studios would start to pressure them to push messages, allowing them to make even more money.
But they want to overthrow all governments, even the American government, by force and violence.
Then we'll overthrow it by force and violence.
So when the government came to Hollywood in the 1940s, with a message to be pushed and money to be given, it was an obvious deal. These studio executives were happy to do it, and ostensibly it was for a good cause. These studio executives gave the government full oversight over the business. Between 1942 and 1945, the US military and their Bureau of Motion Pictures reviewed and edited over 1,600 different film scripts, taking out anything that didn't fit into their pro-war message. They pumped out propaganda films by the dozens as well, like the 7-part documentary series Why We Fight, designed to rally more and more troops for the Allies' cause.
What's put us into uniform, ready to engage the enemy on every continent and every ocean?
But this was only the beginning. What started in the World Wars would progress into a pervasive national campaign of deceit, mental conditioning, and propaganda.
Now, obviously, for like I'm pausing a lot. My bad. Not sorry. But obviously, for something like for war, I guess the propaganda or something to rally troops is to inspire people to join That could always be useful, especially for something like war, but
This quote from Elmer Davis, the head of the Office of War Information during World War II, predicted exactly where this would lead. Quote, "The easiest way to inject a propaganda idea into most people's minds is to let it go through the medium of an entertainment picture, when they do not realize that they are being propagandized." So as time went on, Hollywood and the US military got far more subtle and effective with their propaganda, and today, the government's influence over films is even greater than it was back then, and it all stems from the studio executives, the people who control of the money and the power. Whilst the executives of today share lots of similarities with the power-hungry tycoons of the golden age of Hollywood, the way they exert control of the industry now is a little bit different. And so to understand why, we need to understand one of the most successful executives of our time, Bob Iger.
Hollywood today is on a downward trajectory. The economy falling and people spending less on movies. It's becoming clear that people are just struggling to justify spending money on expensive items.
Right, just
especially when it comes
Netflix
to earbuds. People find it hard to justify spending their money for things like AirPods or other overpriced options when you want truly wireless earbuds. And that's why I want to talk to you about today's sponsor, the Everyday Earbuds by Raycon. Raycon is revolutionizing the electronics industry, providing
seamless
affordable
integration
tech with high quality sound. I mean, when I first tried Raycons, the quality of the sound took me aback. The depth and clarity of songs was astonishing, and by using its features like noise isolation, along with its water resistant build, I was able to fall into my own little world walking outdoors listening to music. In addition, Raycons have 8 hours of playtime and 32 hours of life. Meaning
I actually just ordered some Raycons because the ones I originally had, I dropped the left ear one I dropped it, I guess maybe too much. I think I only dropped it like twice, maybe 3 times. But those things cost me over $300.
No dangling wires or steps.
And like the left ear button would control the noise cancellation or not. And now randomly it just activates by itself, and sometimes it'll make it so that the headphones deafen, like you can't hear what you're listening to at all. Well, it's like a very small, like I've got him now, it would be like this, you know what I'm saying, like that. And so I just bought some Raycons. I'm waiting for them to come in.
He has spent decades working for ABC and Disney, setting the playbook for how to run a modern film studio or media company. And just like Louis B. Mayer, he started out at the bottom as well. Iger was born into a moderately wealthy family, and after getting his bachelor's in TV and radio, he went straight to work. He was desperate to get his foot in the door, and so he started as a weatherman for a local TV station. But Iger would prove that he was excellent at climbing the ladder. He was ambitious, driven, and would go extra mile for his bosses. And so after some long months as a weatherman, he eventually pivoted his career, focusing on management instead of being in front of the screen. For that, he joined ABC in the mid-70s, but he had to start from the very bottom. His first job there was literally as an errand boy on the sets for TV shows, fetching people coffee and generally doing the dirty work for $150 a week. But eventually, through his persistence, ambition, and hard work, he would move up to ABC Sports Wing after 2 years as a low-level manager. And through continuous innovation, grinding, never relenting, he turned everything he touched into gold. Often underestimated, Iger slowly got given more and more responsibility as he rose up the ranks, and after over a decade, he was given his first big break, the opportunity to manage ABC's coverage of the 1988 Calgary Winter Olympics. His journey hadn't been easy so far. Early on in his career, Iger had been forced out of his post by his boss over some accusations of spreading rumors. He was told he wasn't promotable, and that he had 2 weeks to get another job at ABC or get fired. And it was this that prompted his move to ABC Sports. Once he was there, Iger eventually found himself working under a man called Ruin Arlich. It was from him that Iger honed his most important quality, perfectionism. Everything had to be absolutely exact, down to the tiniest of details. Anything less was an insult to Arlich, and Iger was one of the only men who could reach his standards. Countless weekends and holidays were spent at work. Iger put it above everything else. He would actually later write in his memoirs,
he was grinding,
constantly being away from his family was what brought an end to his first marriage. And now though, that just meant making good television. The Winter Olympics weren't going to be any different. Now ABC has spent hundreds of millions bidding for the rights to the Winter Olympics. They were locked in a battle for the #1 spot in America's TV, and it was a massive prize. This was hundreds of millions spent on a gamble to clinch first place, and the odds weren't good. The previous Winter Olympics had lost ABC millions after they got poor ratings, and when the event finally did come, it was cursed by awful weather and a fraud controversy over the tickets. But Bob Iger wasn't going to let his chance at greatness slip away, so instead of floundering and panicking as more and more of the events were delayed or cancelled, he got to work. Iger put much more of his focus on the individual stories and emotionally charged underdogs. He used Eddie the Eagle, a now famous British ski jumper, as an inspirational role model. He wasn't a world-class ski jumper, in fact he scored less than half the points of the second last competitor in his events. But Iger used his uniquely British story to make the event unforgettable for the American public.
That's some smart marketing in a way, you know what I'm saying? It's like, all right, we got weather against us. We lost millions last time. This needs to be a hit. How can we do this? I got it. Let's focus on the individual stories, and it doesn't matter what, you know, if they're the world record holder or not, if they're the best or not. Focus on the people who have the best story, because people love a good story, especially if it's someone who came from a dark past or a dark background, or the rags to riches type stories, all of those. And yeah, so they found this guy and I guess, well, you technically used, but used him to promote or focus on his story to really get people to connect and get their ratings up and make money from something that could have lost them millions.
I've been jumping for 2 years. Go ahead. A little problem there. You can see he's maybe a little bit nervous.
Other unlikely competitors brought to fame by Iger were the Jamaican bobsled team, with their story eventually inspiring cool runners. And with all of this innovation and hard work, the Winter Olympics somehow became a smash success, and it propelled Iger's career even further. Bob was then put in charge of ABC's entertainment department a year later, taking them from a third-place spot in American TV straight to the top. But as Iger went further up the ladder, he started to lose sight of actual entertainment, because by being a top-level executive meant that his priorities were changing over time. Bob was becoming the perfect businessman. Entertainment was just the means to power.
How can you make money?
Around this period that things became interesting. You see, Disney.
Oh, before we get into that, I'm gonna actually end the video here. This video's got like at least another 23 minutes. So if you want to watch that, link will be in the description below. But I'll get to that. Give me 1 second. Did you guys notice how back here, where was it? You guys see how one man is speaking into every single microphone? MBS, CBS, NBC, ACN, Blue, all those different microphones representing different news stations, right? Now, do you guys remember let's see if I can find it over here right quick. A video came out about news reporters from different news stations all saying the same thing.
Hi, I'm Fox San Antonio's Jessica Headley.
And I'm Ryan Wolf.
Our greatest responsibility is to serve our
Treasure Valley communities,
The El Paso, Las Cruces communities.
Eastern Iowa communities,
Mid-Michigan communities.
We are extremely proud of the quality, balanced journalism that CBS 4 News produces.
But we are concerned about trouble and trying to irresponsible, one-sided news stories plaguing our country.
So, as you can see, not much has really changed between one person speaking through a bunch of different mics that represent a bunch of different news stations, and one person speaking through a bunch of different people that represent a bunch of different news stations. So I say that because since things haven't really changed that much, it seems the same for Hollywood as well. Because with them getting, the more power they got, and their ability to have, women just forcing the women to change their names and, abusing them and, all the stuff he went over before. And it seems like that's still a thing these days, because you still hear stories about women being abused or SA'd in Hollywood, and like if they don't sleep with certain people, then their career could be ruined. You still hear those type of stories. So looks like not much has changed since then as well. Like power, money, if the guy got the money after, you know, he worked for it at first. He didn't really care about propaganda. But when he saw the Birth of a Nation movie, you know, quadruple the amount that he spent, he ended up, you know, saying that money kind of corrupted him. He's like, all right, that was the beginning. He said, let's do more propaganda. And that he started having the script change or pushing for them to, you know, spew out propaganda during some of the movies. And, you know, like I said before, for things like war, maybe that's useful because, you know, rallies the troops and encourages people to join the military to help us, you know, help us win and stuff like that. But for when it leaves that section of use of propaganda and moves to something like, you know, you should do the when it moves from war to social life to everyday life to how people should think and how people should perceive certain things and how people should act or what people should pursue as, you know, as the American dream. That's, you know, that's pushing, that's going too far in my opinion. Now, I don't know what all he's going to cover in the rest of this video. I'm going to watch it myself, you know, for my after I finish this. But like I said before, as always, link to this video and link to this channel, Moon, will also be in the description below, as always. So be sure to visit Moon's channel, and while you're there, show some love and do those 3 things that I like to ask you to do, and like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to hit the notification bell for more videos. Yeah. And you know what it is after that, in case I don't see you. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Peace and much love to you.